I don't believe in a predetermined sort of destiny, but at the same time there's things that sort of hit us at an early age, or we become aware of certain things at an early age, and that awareness sort of affects our life, you know, and our future. So I remember sort of walking through the countryside when I was about 9 or 10, no, I was about 10 or 11 actually, because my granddad had just bought a new house, and I was thinking that my granddad has bought a new house and how much money it cost him. And I realised that if you didn't have money, you didn't have a place to live. So we were born in a world where we had no right to live anywhere. And that was kind of a bit disturbing to me, and around the same time I discovered that if
it's disturbing for children. Anyway,
yeah, I suppose it is. Yeah, well, I don't know. I can't talk for other people. I can only talk about myself. And about the same time, I was also I found out that if you were sick and you didn't have the money to pay for the medicine, then you died. You know, and that was also very disturbing. I mean, I found that disturbing, and that quite affected me. I grew up feeling that there was something wrong with society, and but I was quite uneducated. I didn't like school. In fact, school was a nightmare to me, you know. And
I usually say unschooled doesn't necessarily mean uneducated.
No, it doesn't. No, and you know, going to university, you know, doesn't mean say you're educated either. You know, it doesn't mean say you can think for yourself, or you know, it doesn't make you clever. You know, it just makes you, you've been able to remember certain facts to get you through the university. You know, so but anyway, I felt. So I grew up, and I didn't like school, and I didn't like society. I felt there was something wrong, and I think I'd reached my sort of early 20s, and I thought I want to be able to, you know, say what's wrong with society. So I went to college to sort of try to educate myself, and I studied psychology and sociology and English, but at the same time I was living in a squat in London, and we were studying alternative psychology, alternative sociology, people like Marx and situationism, and then I sort of realised that if I carried on with my college courses, I would probably grow up, you know, into sort of some middle-aged left-wing hypocrite. And I was quite frightened of that. And so I ditched the college course, and I ditched studying, and I just walked away from society. I came to the Venus Project after I was made aware of a money-free world, or the possibilities of a money-free world, and how I came about finding or discovering, it's sort of a discovery, isn't it, that, you know, that we can live in a world without money. In a much better way than we can live in a world with money. And you know, I got that through the socialist movement, the World Socialist Movement. They're a very small organisation, but they're also a very influential organisation. They say they've been around more than 100 years, and they promote a money-free, state-free society. According to them, that's what Karl Marx, you know, version of communism. You know, the state is dissolved, labour, the wage system is abolished, and so, you know, we come to a state where there isn't any need for money or any need for state, and all the power is in the communities.
We've learned about Marx in school, but not too much.
No, well, we don't. We tend to get told the sort of like the negative or the misrepresentations of communism, because, you know, so we look at Russia, which was, you know, state fascism, you know, using state capitalism,
and we identify communism
with that, but that was a complete misrepresentation of communism. So, and then in the English schools, we're taught, well, we're made to read George Orwell's book Animal Farm. Do you know that?
Yeah, I read it.
Yeah. So that's
I remember very well.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, we don't get taught to read or told to read 1984 by George Orwell. You know, so we just get taught the misrepresentations of communism rather than, you know, the true meaning of communism as Marx wanted us to know. So I've become aware of, you know, the reality of a non-monetary society. That's right. So, and it's there that I discovered the Venus Project on Facebook, and I slowly watched some of the Venus Project movies, and, you know, the TZM, the Zeitgeist movies as well. And yeah, I've slowly began to really enjoy Fresco, because I found Fresco a bit challenging in some of his perspectives. Yeah, and I found him very amusing as well, and I liked the way he talked. It was very clear. You need to get across to as many people as you can. You need to be simple.
Yeah,
You need to say things simply, in a simple way. Yeah, yeah, that's right. It's like, I don't know if you know Peter Seeger. Do you know Peter Seeger? He's a folk singer, American folk singer, and I don't know if he's dead now. He is dead now. I think he's dead now. He's died recently, but he was very, you know, he was a bit rigid on sort of, people have got to say, they've got to sing very clearly, you know, so everybody can hear the words, you know. So he didn't like electronic music, you know, because you listen to a pop song and you don't know what they're saying half the time. So it's just being able to put that message across very clearly. And it's even, you know, if you're speaking to a large group, you've got to speak in a way that the person right at the back can hear you, and the most stupidest person, you know, or the less educated person, or whatever you want to define them, can understand you, you know. So once you start getting into intellectualizing, then you're losing, you know, a lot of people.
The few will change the world, not the masses, as they say. Yeah,
that's right. And there is sort of evidence to prove that, you know, the women's rights movement, you know, in the beginning of the 20th century, the civil rights movement in America, they all changed the world, and they were started, you know, by minorities. So it is working towards that critical mass. Yeah. Do you think it will happen? The Venus Project in itself is just the creation of a city, isn't it? A smart city where, like, the Moneyfree party sort of wants to the whole world, but, you know, to become a money-free society. I think we overcome it by saying, you know, we don't really know what the future's going to bring. I mean, you know, if 50 years ago, you know, I was telling people that we're going to be communicating, you know, with little gadgets the size of my hand, and we could talk to people all around the world and watch videos and, you know, get all the information we need to learn anything off of a channel called YouTube, you know, then people wouldn't believe me either, you know. Or they say, crazy. So yeah, we don't really know what the future's going to hold, you know. And I mean, there are sort of certain trends in society at the moment, you know, like the open source trend, you know, that where we are getting free access to knowledge and certain things. Yeah, I mean, you know, the dynamic is it really is, you know, do people want it? You know, do they want to be free? You know, of the sort of economic slavery that a lot of people live in.
They're also afraid of it.
Yeah, sure. We went out with a camera like that one, and we went out and sort of like interviewed people on the street, and we'd ask them about a money-free world, and well, we were asking them, would you work for free in a money-free society? And pretty much unanimous, they say, yeah, we'd work in a money-free society. But when we get into talking to them, they go, well, yeah, we'd work for free in a money-free society, but the other people, they won't. So who these other people are, you know? So it's like, you know, we don't trust each other.
Yeah.
And I suppose if you look at the, you know, the...
It's so sad because there should be trust.
Yeah, yeah.
Society should be built upon trust.
That's right, but it isn't built upon trust because it's built upon competition.
Exactly.
And it's built upon economic insecurity or material insecurity. So everybody growing up into society can't really afford to trust other people. They've got to compete with the other people, and they've got to take as much as they can for themselves because they're frightened of the future. So that's, you know, that's really what holds us back, you know, in many ways. So getting back to the question, is it achievable? You know, I don't know if it is achievable. You know, is it, even now after 50 years? You know, we're still struggling to get equal rights for women. You know, is that ever going to be achievable? You know, people say, well, that's going to take us another 200 or 300 years to get. You know, at the present rate. So it's. I don't think it's a case of what is and what isn't achievable, because we don't know what's achievable. We don't know. But all which we do know is what we want and what we think is right. And, you know, that's politics. So, you know, if you think something is right, if you believe in something to be right, then you should really push forward, you know, towards that goal.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's you know, that's what we do. You know, that's what people in the Moneyfree party do, and, you know, people like yourself, you know, and anybody who's got a belief.